Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. This class is going to be all about emotional support. Just some little quick tips of things we can actually do in our day, as well as how to use our oils to help support that. So I thought first that we might get started with a little breathing activity just to kind of bring us centered, thinking about where we are and just being present here in this moment. So if you have an oil with you, it doesn't really matter which one, but just something that you enjoy. If you want to, you can take a drop or two, put it in the palm of your hand and rub it together. So I'm going to take my adaptive roller, and I'm going to talk more about oils later, but my adaptive roller is one that I really love for emotional support. I'm just going to put a little in the palm of my hand and rub it together and just kind of cup it over your nose and take a really big breath in. All right, and you can continue to do that. We're going to do a little bit of a breathing exercise. You can continue to do it with your oil, or you can just start to rest a little bit. So we're going to take some cleansing breaths. So wherever you are, if you'll sit comfortably, if you can, with your feet planted on the earth, start to inhale deeply into your belly. If you feel comfortable with it, you can close your eyes. Otherwise, if you just soften your gaze, just start to go inward for a little bit. And you're breathing into your belly through your nose if you can. Bring the air deeply into the lower lobes of your lungs. And as you do this, your belly will rise. And on your breath out, your belly will start to sink towards your spine. Bring your awareness to your ribs. Experience your rib cage expanding and contracting with each deep breath. And I invite you to inhale to the count of 5, hold for a moment, and then exhale to the count of 5. We'll just continue to do that at your own pace for a couple of cycles of breath. Wherever you are in your count, if you can take one more cycle. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle your toes and your fingers, start to bring your attention back to our shared space. We'll just take a moment to notice how hopefully your mind feels a little more clear, your body feels a little more refreshed. You feel a little more present in your own power and your own strength. And so I always love to remind people that we have our breath with us all the time. So we can do that on purpose. You can set an alarm on your phone, have a Post-it note somewhere, a reminder on your mirror, in your car, at your desk, wherever you might be during your day, to really just take a moment, do some of those cleansing breaths during your busy day. And don't forget to pass it on to other people in your life. So your kids, your spouse, your coworkers, your friends, your family, we all could use breathing on purpose. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, I'm gonna get into the brain a little bit and just kind of talk about that. As an occupational therapist, I talk about this with my kids often at that kid level so that they can kind of understand what's going on in our brain when we're having these emotions happen. And right now, a lot of us are having these emotions happen more and more because we've got a lot of messages coming our way. And our brain is designed in such a way to have a reaction to things that cause fear or might need to have that fight or flight. And so we might be finding ourselves in a cycle of that. So we're going to kind of talk about some things we can do to kind of flip that pattern. But I just wanted to give a little bit of the background because I think it really helps to put a visual when you're thinking about the brain and how we really can have an impact on some of the choices that we make in the moment to be able to support those emotions that are going on. So at the center of our brain, we have our limbic system. There's a lot involved there, but deep in the core of that is our amygdala. And our amygdala is our watchtower. It really is designed, its job is designed to recognize potential threats and prepare us for that fight or flight. And so one of the most amazing ways that it actually performs its job is through smell. And so aromas have a really quick, unfiltered route to the amygdala, where our emotions really are, the memories of our emotions are stored there. And so this response is instant. And therefore, it can have such a big effect. So for those of you who took an oil and you did that, and you did your breathing, you probably had a pretty quick response to the smell that you were having. And, I encouraged you at the beginning to choose one that you like, because, there are smells that we don't like. And so we're going to have a different response to that too. But if we're using our essential oils and that aromatic is having that instant reaction, if we do that in the middle of something that's going on, if we're starting to feel those emotions and notice that that's going on, and we take that moment to use that oil that we've experienced before in a good way, then we're going to be able to send that message to the amygdala and let it know that it's okay. And then that's going to help us process. And so I chose adaptive, right? Because that oil is, the chemical composition of that is designed in such a way that it really is helping to pivot emotion. And so using that oil is allowing the amygdala to let me know that I'm okay, and I can have, a response to what's going on. And so, let's see, these oils, you guys, they're so powerful because they are like 100 to 10,000 times more concentrated than the solid plant, depending on the chemical composition. So you're having a direct effect on your emotional response by doing that. And they're different than pharmaceuticals, you guys, because they're actually designed the difference is that the pharmaceuticals are designed to alter behavior. The essential oil is actually a substance that has a biological purpose. So that means that it actually intelligently binds to the receptors on our cells to actually go at work for restoration, for balance, to support our emotions. So that's the difference between how a pharmaceutical would work for our emotions and an essential oil would work for our emotions. And I hope that makes sense. I didn't want to dig too far into that, but I always like to point that out because I think it's important for people to kind of know the difference when we're talking about using them for natural solutions and how it might be different than something else that you've experienced before. So there's so many different oils that we could use for that, right? So I talked about adaptive. One of my other favorites ones is rose oil. Rose has such an amazing emotional vibration to it, so it can be very supportive to, take some breaths with it, put it on our pulse points, put it over our heart, really allow us to have that experience again, sending that message to our amygdala, letting us know that we're okay, and being able to kind of shift in our emotion. And it really depends on what's going on for you, right? And like I said, if it's really tapping into our memory through smell. And so if you were to, explore your oils a little bit, you will be able to kind of see which ones that you really have a response to. Some other ones that I brought out just to talk about, passion is a really awesome oil. That one can be very helpful too. If you know that you're dealing with some emotions, but you really need to put forth, something that you really care about. And so passion's a good one for that. Calmer oil, brave oil. These are the oils from the kids line, but I love them. I love that they're named those different ways because that really helps us see the power in them. And so again, being able to take them, just putting them on your pulse points over your heart, can really help you get that emotional pause that you're looking for. Another really awesome one is Hope. I don't know that I've talked about this oil a whole ton, but this blend is pretty awesome. It has bergamot and ylang ylang and frankincense and vanilla. Such an awesome oil. I think right now, hope is something that a lot of us are looking for and wanting to hang on to and that sort of thing. And so that's why I'm bringing this one up now in the, talking about emotions. The really cool thing about this as a side note with doTERRA is that all of the proceeds for this actually go to the Healing Hands Foundation. And all of the monies from that are actually going towards the Operation Underground Railroad, which is actually supporting stopping human trafficking. And so this is huge that doTERRA is a part of that, and really if you have been paying attention to some things about that, it's a really big deal in our country, and we really need all the support that we can to stop this from happening in our world. And so I just love that doTERRA has made that a product that all the proceeds go to supporting that foundation. So that's Hope. But you guys, there's so many oils, and so I wanted to encourage you to actually take your Essential Life book, and in the back there's actually a whole section on emotions. And you can actually look up what the stuck emotion is that you're having, and it will share an oil for what the positive or the opposite of that stuck feeling is. And so there's like 3 or 4 charts back there that are really going to show you how to pivot from whatever emotion it is that you're having. So I wanted to just point that out for you. But that's what I wanted to talk about as far as oil goes. But I wanted to share with you some things that I have been learning lately, just from tuning into podcasts and really trying to get some positive insight as we kind of move through these days. And so I was listening to a podcast by John Assaraf, and he has a book called Innercize. And so we talk about exercise, but maybe we don't talk about Innercize. And so he's actually a leading expert in mindset and behavior. He's really big in evidence-based brain training. So I touched very briefly on the brain, but that's where he's at, is really thinking about how this amygdala is going to work in our lives, and how sometimes it's overworked and it's over alerted. And so he's come up with these Innercises. And so I just wanted to share about them, because some of them are things that I already do in maybe a little bit of a different way, but I thought they were really cool how he put them together. So I wanted to share that with you guys tonight. And so the first one is when we are getting an emotion, or we're noticing something is starting to get us alerted, or we're hearing a message that makes us scared, or we don't know what we're going to do about it, that sort of thing. Just pausing and taking 6 breaths for reset. And so we did that at the beginning, how we were taking some breaths. You can use your oil to do that, as I just talked about how it can shift our mind. And so just pausing and taking those 6 breaths would be step 1. And then step 2 is something called AYA. And so that's AIA, and it's awareness, intention, and then attention. And so we need to, if we can, take this pause moment and think, like, what's causing this? He calls them Frankenstein responses. And so that's that amygdala that's, designed to have that immediate response. And so it's like, if we can take a moment to think, like, what's causing that Frankenstein response? And then, start to name the feeling, name the sensations. I talk about that a lot with the students I work with, like, what's the body message? What's happening? Is your heart racing? Is your stomach hurting? Are you breathing fast? Are your muscles tensing up? What's going on physically? Can we notice that? And then we can start to have an awareness, and we're doing it without judgment, you guys, without blame, without shame, without justification. It's really just noticing that it's happening. And then if we can notice what's happening, then we can go into that intention part. So what is it that we want in this moment to kind of flip out of that? So we can ask ourselves, like, what's one small action I can take towards this? And that's where those body sensations come into play, because if we can recognize the body sensation, then we can kind of do the opposite of that, right? So if our muscles are tensing up, like, what's something we can do to kind of really allow that, input, but then try to release it? Our heart's beating fast. Well, we know that our breaths can help to slow that down, so we can use our breath to do that. So we can pay attention to those body messages, set an intention, one small action step. It's not huge. It's really just responding to the body. And then that helps to interrupt this old pattern that we get in and allows for more of a calm response. So we can start to create new empowering patterns if we're doing this over and over and over again. And so the brain is actually designed that way to kind of activate by trigger, right? But if we are practicing this over and over again, we're kind of deactivating those negative triggers, and we're creating these new triggers that our body can get used to. And then he really taps into this idea of that automaticity of the brain. So the brain loves to conserve energy. And so the more we're practicing this, it's really doing it, if we're practicing it proactively at intervals in our day. So like I said, if you're putting things in your phone, alerting you to do it, or practicing it, it's allowing it to become more of a default. And so when those emotions start to come up, instead of that fight or flight, our body's going to start to go into that, oh yeah, I'm just going to take some deep breaths, or oh yeah, I'm just going to, do these stretches that help those tight muscles. And so really starting to tap into those Innercizes are going to allow our body to go into a more balanced, automatic reaction to those things. And then the third thing in there is flipping the switch. He calls it flipping the switch. When I'm talking with my students, I call it flipping the script, because we kind of create these little scripts for ourselves of how we react to things. And so if we can flip that switch to the emotional state that we want, because we can think, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not this chemical reaction that's happening, here's what I can do about it. And that's going to allow us to feel empowered to really stand there with the emotion, to name it, to recognize what's going on in our body, and then to do something about it in a way that then we can deal with what's going on. And so I want to be clear that I'm not saying that we should just forget the emotion. It's so important to validate feelings. And I'm not, wanting to dismiss that those things are existing. It's important for them too. But if we do this proactively and we do it throughout our days and we really practice it, it's going to allow us to be able to automatically go to it when we need it the most. So that was what I had to share with you guys tonight. It wasn't a really long class, but I just wanted to really tap in briefly to that brain part to help us see that our brain is designed this way, you guys. And I really love how the essential oils can be an add-on to some of the things we can do that are already in our body with our breathing, recognizing what's going on with the sensations in the body. And then the power of those essential oils being able to send that message so quick to the brain, the way that they're biologically designed to attach to those receptors, to allow our body to have that positive experience and shift. It's just so incredible. So I encourage you to play with your oils, see which one that you're connecting with when you are in a balanced state, so that your brain will be able to kind of store that as a memory and go back to it when you need it, when some other big emotions come up. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'd love to support you and answer any questions that you have. So if you're not here live and you want to contact me, just jump on over to sbellwellness.com. You can get my contact information over there. And I'd love to support you with your emotional well-care in any way that I can. So don't hesitate to reach out, and I hope that I'll see you at a class sometime soon. Yeah, take care.